The conference room on orbital station Helios 4 was silent when the urgent message arrived. Engineers, diplomats, and scientists from Earth stood around a long metal table, all staring at the flickering hologram that had suddenly appeared. The hologram showed a tall blue alien with thin glowing veins across his forehead. His eyes were wide with fear and his voice trembled as he spoke. "This is an emergency call to the humans. We request immediate help. Your presence is required." The message ended there, no details, no explanation, nothing. People in the room exchanged confused looks. Humans and the alien species called the Velarin had only made contact 4 months ago. The Velarin were known for their powerful telepathic abilities. They could read almost any mind with a single touch. They never asked anyone for help, especially not a young species like humans. But this message felt desperate, almost terrified. Standing at the back of the room was Daniel Cross, a 28-year-old engineer. He wasn't important, not like the ambassadors or generals. He was only here because he happened to be on the station when the summons arrived. Still, he felt something cold crawl down his spine as he replayed the alien's fearful eyes in his head. Across the room, Ambassador Reed finally broke the silence. Why would the Velarin send something like this? They never ask for help. Never. General Hartman crossed his arms. "We check for traps." "It's not a trap," said Dr. Ellen Ward, the head scientist. "Look at his eyes." That alien was terrified. Reed sighed. Terrified of what? No one had the answer. The room fell into heavy silence again, and all eyes turned toward the screen as the hologram replayed. The alien voice echoed once more, "Humans, we need you." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Something felt very wrong. He could sense it. Even if he didn't know why. The selection, after a long discussion, the Velarin ship requested that one human be sent for a meeting. One person, not a team, not a group, not an army, just one. They gave no reason. Most humans thought the request was strange, even insulting. General Hartman growled, "One human? What do they think we are, children?" But Dr. Ward shook her head. "Velarin telepaths cannot handle crowded minds. Maybe they want a simple communication." "Communication with one person," the general argued. "We don't even know the purpose." Reed rubbed his forehead. "We need someone calm, someone patient, someone who doesn't panic easily." Slowly, Dr. Ward's eyes moved toward Daniel. "You," she said softly, "you might be the right choice." Daniel blinked. "Me?" He looked around. People stared at him. Some seemed unsure, others curious. Daniel took a small step forward. "Why me? I'm not a diplomat or a soldier." Dr. Ward smiled sadly. "Maybe that's exactly why. You're young, calm, honest, and you have a mind that is not full of political stress. Velarin telepaths might be more comfortable with someone like you." General Hartman grunted. "He's untrained, but he's also unthreatening," Reed added. "The Velarin must not feel attacked." Daniel felt heat rise in his face. He wasn't brave like soldiers or brilliant like scientists, so why him? "What if I say no?" he asked. Dr. Ward stepped closer and put a hand on his shoulder. "Then we will send someone else." "But Daniel, something is wrong, very wrong, and I think they chose you for a reason." Daniel looked again at the hologram of the terrified alien. Something inside him whispered, "Go." Finally, he nodded once. "I'll do it." The journey the Velarin ship arrived the next morning. It hovered outside the station like a floating silver crystal, glowing softly. When the docking bridge connected, the air hummed with strange energy. Daniel stepped inside the alien ship with a pounding heart. The interior looked alive. Blue veins of light ran through the walls like flowing rivers. The air felt warm and hummed with a faint musical sound. A tall Velarin stood waiting for him. His skin was pale blue and his eyes glowed softly. "Welcome, human Daniel," he said in a calm but urgent tone. "You must come quickly. The council is waiting." Daniel swallowed. "What happened? Why did you call for help?" The alien's fingers twitched nervously, a sign of fear in Velarin culture. "There has been an incident we cannot explain here. You will see soon." The alien led Daniel through the long hallways. Other Velarin stopped and stared at him as he passed. Their eyes were full of curiosity and fear. Some even stepped back, as if Daniel might hurt them. This made Daniel even more nervous. Finally, they reached a large circular chamber filled with glowing symbols and humming crystals. In the center was a raised platform where several Velarin stood in a tight group. One of them, a tall alien with bright white markings on his forehead, stepped forward. "I am Telepath Elder Rithvak. You are the human." Daniel nodded. "Yes, I'm Daniel Cross." The Elder's eyes studied him with deep caution. "Step forward." Daniel walked toward him, heart pounding in his chest. The Elder raised his hand gently. "Do not fear, we only wish to understand." Daniel tried to steady his breathing. "Can someone please tell me what is happening?" Rithvak hesitated before answering. "There was a telepathic disturbance. One of our strongest readers collapsed after scanning a faint signal near your station. He woke screaming. The only clear word he said was human." Daniel's eyes widened. "Me? We do not know," the Elder replied. "But he asked, no, begged for a human to come." "You?" Daniel felt sweat forming on his palms. "Why me? I don't know anything about telepathy." The Elder looked at him with a strange mixture of fear and respect. That is what we must discover. The telepath two healers entered the room, guiding a weak alien supported between them. His eyes were half open, unfocused. His skin was pale. He looked like someone who had seen something horrible. The healers helped him sit on a floating chair. His hands shook as he stared at Daniel. "That's him," the telepath whispered. "That's the mind that called to me." Daniel stepped back. "Called to you? I didn't do anything." The telepath shook his head violently. "No, not you, your mind." He pointed a trembling finger. "Your thoughts, your memories, your emotions, they are loud, so loud they burn." Daniel frowned in confusion. "What are you talking about? I'm normal." Elder Rithvak raised a hand. "We will find the truth. Telepath Vekar, are you ready?" The weak telepath nodded slowly. "Yes, let me see him again." The room went silent. Daniel's heart thundered inside his chest. Vekar took a deep breath, lifted his hand, and touched Daniel's forehead with one long blue finger. The scream for 1 second, nothing happened. The air was perfectly still. Daniel waited, confused. Then Vekar screamed. A scream so loud, so full of pain, it shook the chamber like an explosion. The alien fell backward violently, crashing onto the floor. His body convulsed. His glowing veins flashed bright red. Sparks of psychic energy burst out around him. The other Velarin shouted and rushed toward him. Daniel stood frozen. I didn't do anything." Vekar's voice came out in a broken whisper as he writhed on the ground. "The human mind, it is fire, it is storm, it is chaos, too much, too much." The elder stepped back in fear, staring at Daniel as if he were a monster. "What are you?" he whispered. Daniel felt his stomach drop. "I'm just a man," he said weakly. "I swear I didn't hurt him. I can't do anything with my mind." But the Velarin were no longer listening. They were terrified. Guards surrounded Daniel instantly, their hands shaking. Even though they carried no weapons, their stance made it clear they feared him more than any weapon. Daniel raised his hand slowly. "Please, I don't want to hurt anyone." Rithvak's voice trembled. "We know that is the problem." The aftermath, the telepath was carried away by healers, still trembling and muttering nonsense. Daniel stood alone in the center of the chamber while every alien stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. The elder spoke softly but firmly. "Human Daniel, your mind is not like others. Your emotions, your memories, they overwhelmed a master telepath." Daniel swallowed hard. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean." "You did nothing wrong," the elder interrupted. "But you are dangerous to us." Daniel's heart dropped. "Dangerous? I never hurt anyone, not by choice," the elder said. "But your mind is a storm to us. Something powerful sleeps in you, perhaps in all humans." Daniel shook his head. "That can't be right." The elder stepped closer, his voice low. "The telepath collapsed the moment he touched you. That has never happened before, not in our entire history." The room hummed with fear. Daniel felt small, confused, and alone. "What now?" he whispered. Rithvak stared at him with ancient eyes. "Now we must understand what you are." The chamber remained silent long after the screaming stopped. Daniel stood alone in the center, breathing fast, heart thumping inside his chest like a drum. The Velarin healers had carried the telepath Vekar away, but the echo of his terrified cries still hung in the air. Around Daniel, dozens of alien eyes watched him, wide, glowing, and full of fear. No one looked angry. Not one alien raised a weapon. They stared at him the way someone stared at a wild storm, beautiful, dangerous, and completely unpredictable. Elder Rithvak slowly stepped back, as if Daniel might explode at any moment. "Do not move," the elder said softly. His voice trembled. "Your mind, it is unstable for us." Daniel raised his hand slightly, palms open. "I'm not dangerous. I didn't do anything. That is what terrifies us," Rithvak whispered. The whispering hall, the guards led Daniel through the glowing hallways. Their hands shook as they walked, as if even being near him caused discomfort. He didn't fight them. He didn't argue. He was too shocked to speak. As they walked, he heard whispers from behind doors and corners. He shattered Vekar's mind. No untrained species should be so loud. How can a mind hold so much chaos? Humans should not exist. The words made Daniel's stomach twist. How could his simple, boring, human mind hurt anyone? He remembered Vekar's voice screaming inside the chamber, fire, storm, chaos. Daniel didn't understand. He had never felt special. He wasn't a genius, a soldier, or anything powerful. He was just a normal man who liked repairing engines and drinking sweet coffee on quiet evenings. How could someone like him hurt a telepath? The isolation room, the guards opened a circular room with smooth walls and soft glowing veins of light. There was no furniture, no doors aside from the one he entered. It looked like a prison cell, except beautiful. "We must separate you," one guard said without looking at him. "For safety." Daniel frowned. "Whose safety, yours or mine?" The guards didn't answer. The door slid shut behind him with a quiet hum, and Daniel stood alone in glowing silence. He pressed a hand against the smooth wall. It was warm, alive somehow. He sat down in the center of the room and buried his face in his hands. He didn't know if he should feel angry, scared, or ashamed. After a long, quiet minute, he whispered to himself, "I'm not a monster." The watchers, several hours passed, maybe more. Daniel had no sense of time. The door eventually slid open with a gentle hum and two aliens entered. One was Rithvak. The other was a younger alien with soft green markings on his forehead. Both stood far from Daniel, keeping distance as if he were a dangerous animal. Human Daniel, Rithvak began, we need answers. Daniel spread his hands, I don't have any. Rithvak studied him for a long moment. Your mind is unlike anything in our knowledge. Daniel sighed, I'm just a human, I don't have powers, I don't even meditate. The younger alien stepped forward slightly, his voice was soft and uncertain. We are a race of telepaths. When we touch a mind, we feel thoughts like water, smooth, calm, flowing. He pointed at Daniel, your mind was not water, it was fire. Daniel blinked, fire, yes. Emotions strong like storms, memories sharp like blades, a lifetime of struggle, a lifetime of fear, a lifetime of hope all at once. Daniel shook his head slowly. That's normal for humans, normal. The younger alien's voice cracked. No species feels emotions with such intensity, but your emotions are not controlled, they are wild, untamed. Rithvak added quietly, most species calm their minds, they quiet their thoughts, but humans, your minds fight. Fight, Daniel repeated. Rithvak nodded. Yes, your mind fights pain, it fights fear, it fights things that break others. Telepaths see everything that lives in you, every memory, every scar, every dream. The younger alien shivered. No wonder Vecker screamed. Daniel swallowed hard. If humans are like this, how did the Velarin read the minds of other humans before? Rithvak's expression shifted. We never touched a human deeply before, only surface thoughts. Simple communication, but Vecker tried to understand you fully, to see your nature. He paused, and your nature overwhelmed him. The telepath awakens, a loud chime echoed through the station. Rithvak's eyes widened in alarm. The healer is calling, he said quickly. Vecker has awakened. Daniel's chest tightened. Is he okay? We do not know, the elder said honestly. But he is asking to see you. Daniel froze. See me after all this? Rithvak nodded. He says he must speak with the storm. Daniel felt fear rise like ice inside him, but he stood up. Okay, he said quietly, take me to him. The room of crystals, the Velarin healing chamber, looked like a dream. The walls were lined with floating crystals that pulsed with soft blue light. Strange music hummed in the air like whispers carried by wind. At the center, on a hovering bed of light, lay Telepath Vecker. He looked exhausted, eyes heavy, skin pale. His glowing veins shimmered weakly. He was alive, but shaken. When Daniel entered, the alien flinched just slightly, then forced himself to stay calm. Rithvak spoke gently. Vecker, the human is here. Vecker's voice was thin. Leave us. Rithvak and the young alien immediately stepped back and exited the room. The door closed behind them, leaving Daniel and the telepath alone. Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't want to hurt anyone again. Vecker slowly lifted his eyes. Human Daniel. Daniel stepped closer carefully. I'm sorry, Daniel said softly. I didn't want. Vecker raised a trembling hand. No, I must speak. Daniel fell silent. Vecker took a deep breath. When I touched your mind, I saw a world of fire. Daniel frowned. Fire again, what does that mean? Vecker's voice trembled. You humans feel pain deeply, but you do not break. Your fear is strong, but you stand. Your memories are heavy, but you carry them. Your heart is wounded, but it burns bright. Daniel's brows furrowed. That's just life. Vecker shook his head. No, that is strength. Daniel blinked, stunned. The telepath continued. I touched your mind expecting calm, silence, simplicity. He gave a weak laugh. But your mind, it fought me. It pushed back, not with anger, not with hate, but with something else. What? Daniel whispered. Vecker stared at him with wide, glowing eyes. Hope. Daniel froze. Vecker's voice grew softer. You humans live with fear, but still hope. You live with pain, but still care. You live with chaos, but still love. These emotions are powerful, too powerful for us. Daniel sat down slowly. But why me? I'm nobody special. Vecker closed his eyes. You are human, and that is enough. He struggled to breathe, then continued. When I touched you, I saw something else, something deeper. He grabbed Daniel's wrist gently with a shaking hand. Humans are not weak. You survive things that would destroy entire species. Daniel felt chills rise along his spine. What did you see? He whispered. Vecker's voice cracked. A mind that cannot be controlled. He looked at Daniel with fear and awe mixed together. Humans are immune to telepathic dominance. You cannot be broken. You cannot be bent. Your mind rejects control like fire burning a hand that tries to grasp it. Daniel felt his heart pound. But why does that make you afraid? Vecker stared into his eyes. Because a mind that cannot be controlled cannot be conquered. The council watches. The door opened suddenly. Rithvak entered with several high-ranking Velarin. Their eyes showed fear, but also something more dangerous, uncertainty. Human Daniel, Rithvak said slowly, you must come with us. Daniel stood cautiously. Why? Before the elder could speak, another alien, one with golden markings, stepped forward. We must decide what to do with you. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Do with me? He repeated. I'm not a prisoner. The golden-marked alien's eyes flashed. You are a threat we do not understand. Vecker tried to sit up, shouting weakly, do not harm him, he is not dangerous, but the guards gently pushed him back down. Rithvak spoke in a softer tone, no harm will come to you, Daniel, but we need answers, and the council is afraid. Daniel breathed harder. Afraid of what? The elder looked him straight in the eyes. Afraid of the power sleeping inside the human mind. Daniel felt cold all over. "What happens now?" he whispered. Rithvek's answer was quiet. "Now we begin the investigation." The council chamber was unlike any place Daniel had ever seen. It was a huge round hall shaped like the inside of a crystal. Blue light flowed through transparent pillars. Soft music hummed from the walls, vibrating like a heartbeat. But the beauty of the room did nothing to calm Daniel, because the Velarin Council, the most powerful telepaths in their world, were all staring at him as if he were a ticking bomb. The moment he stepped inside, the whispering began, not just voices, but telepathic murmurs vibrating through the air. "He is unstable. He broke Vecker's mind. He must be contained. He might be the first of many." Daniel stopped in the center of the chamber, trying to keep his breathing steady. Rithvek stepped forward and raised his hand. "Silence, we will begin." The whispers died at once. Daniel looked at the elder, confused and afraid. "What exactly is this, a trial?" "No," Rithvek replied gently, "an investigation." His voice grew heavier. "You are not accused of anything yet." Daniel didn't like the sound of the last word. The memory prism, the council head, a tall alien with glowing gold veins, stepped toward Daniel. "We will use our ancient device," announced the memory prism. Daniel frowned. "What does it do?" "It observes the echoes of your mind," she explained, "without touching you, without entering you." Daniel's shoulders eased slightly. "So it's safe for us," she said quietly. She didn't mention if it was safe for him. Two guards brought in a floating crystal sphere. It glowed with swirling silver mist inside. When they placed it near Daniel, the mist inside shifted like it sensed him. Rithvek nodded. "Begin." The gold-veined council head lifted her hand and the crystal lit up. At first nothing happened. Then the entire hall filled with Daniel's memories. Not clear images, not full scenes, but emotional echoes. A child crying in the rain, a teenager walking alone in a cold city, a young man watching his mother fight sickness, nights filled with fear of the future, days filled with tired but stubborn hope. The holographic emotions floated around the chamber like smoke. Velarin gasped. One alien whispered, trembling, "How can one mind hold so much pain?" Another stepped back. "This intensity, it is unnatural." But then the emotions changed. Daniel's happiest memories appeared: a warm hug from his mother, laughter with friends, light shining through a window on a peaceful morning, the pride of building something with his hands, the quiet bravery of starting again after every failure. The room shifted from sadness to courage, to love, to determination. The Velarin pulled back, overwhelmed. One council member fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Stop, it is too strong." The gold-veined leader shut down the prism instantly. The memories vanished. The room went silent except for the heavy breathing of the telepaths. Daniel stared at them. "I didn't try to hurt anyone," he said. "Those are just my memories, my life." The gold-veined leader's voice trembled. "Your life is violent." Daniel looked offended. "Those weren't violent." "That was just emotion itself is violence to us," she snapped. Then she took a step back, forcing herself to calm down. Rithvek looked conflicted, almost ashamed. "Our people control emotion," he said softly. "We quiet our thoughts. We do not feel with such intensity." The younger alien from before spoke up. "We do not understand how you can live like this." Daniel stared hard at him. "Live like what?" The alien swallowed. "With so much heart." The threat of humanity, the council began whispering among themselves. "We cannot allow contact with such minds. They could break every telepathic defense we have. Imagine an army of these creatures. They would overwhelm us without trying." Daniel's fists tightened. He stepped forward. "Humans are not weapons," he said firmly. "We don't go around breaking minds." The gold-veined leader stared at him. "You would not need to," she replied. "Your minds do it naturally." Daniel tried to control his voice. "You're looking at this wrong. Humans feel strongly, but it doesn't make us dangerous." "Then what does it make you?" she asked. Daniel opened his mouth, but someone else answered first. The uninvited witness, the chamber doors burst open. It was Vecker, the telepath Daniel had overwhelmed. He leaned heavily on a walking support, but his eyes were clear, glowing, and sharp. Two healers tried to stop him. "Vecker, you must rest." "No," he said firmly. "I must speak." He stepped into the center beside Daniel. The room froze. Every council member stared at him. Vecker turned slowly to face them. "I touched his mind," the telepath said, "and yes, it hurt. It was chaos, fire, storm," but he looked at Daniel. "It was also the strongest light I have ever seen." Rithvek frowned. "Light?" Vecker nodded. "Yes, hope, strength. The human mind fights everything. Pain, loss, fear, it never stops." His voice softened. "And that is why I collapsed, not because he hurt me, but because I was not ready for something so alive." The council murmured. Vecker continued, "You misunderstand the danger." He pointed at Daniel. "He is not a threat to us, we are a threat to him." Daniel blinked in shock. How?" Vecker spoke with sadness. "Because our fear will push us to harm what we do not understand." The room fell silent. Every alien shifted uncomfortably. He was right. "A unique discovery." The gold-veined leader stepped forward slowly. "Vecker, what do you believe the human is?" Vecker looked at Daniel as if seeing him for the first time. "Not a weapon, not an enemy." He lifted his trembling hand and pressed it gently to the crystal device. The memory prism lit up again, but this time softly. A single memory floated from Daniel's mind, a moment where he stood alone on a rooftop, feeling lost but refusing to give up. Vecker pointed at the image. This is why he is different. Humans do not break, they adapt, they grow. Their minds resist control not because they are dangerous, but because they value freedom more than life. Daniel swallowed, moved by the alien's words. Rithvak stepped forward, stunned. Are you saying humans cannot be controlled by any telepathic force? Vecker nodded. Yes, their minds reject domination. The gold vein leader whispered. Impossible. Vecker shook his head. Simple truth. He turned to Daniel. You humans live with pain every day. You carry more emotion than any species we know, but instead of crushing you, it fuels you. Daniel stood speechless. Vecker smiled weakly. That is your strength and your curse. The decision. The council gathered again in a circle. Their voices were shaky, uncertain. Humans cannot be read. They cannot be controlled. They are immune to telepathic power. They will reshape the balance of the galaxy. After a long, tense silence, the gold vein leader turned to Daniel. We have made our decision. Daniel held his breath. You will not be harmed, she said. You will be studied. Daniel stepped back. Studied? Rithvak tried to speak gently, not as a prisoner, as a key. A key to what? Daniel demanded. The gold vein leader's eyes glowed brighter. To understanding the most dangerous idea we have ever encountered. Daniel frowned. What idea? She looked straight into his eyes. A species that cannot be controlled, cannot be conquered. Daniel felt cold fear run down his spine. What did that mean for humanity? Daniel didn't sleep that night. He was given a private room, not a cell, but clearly a place where he could be watched. The walls glowed a soft blue. A thin mattress floated in the middle. Strange patterns moved across the ceiling like ripples on water. But Daniel just sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped, staring at the floor. Studied. They wanted to study him, not as a person, but as a threat, a key to a secret they barely understood. The words kept echoing in his head, a species that cannot be controlled, cannot be conquered. It sounded like something out of a nightmare. The visitor, the door opened without warning. Daniel jumped. A young Velarin stepped inside, someone Daniel recognized. The same one from the earlier meeting, the gentle one with green markings on his forehead. He carried a small floating light orb in his hands. I am Leora, he said softly. I came to talk. Daniel frowned. Are you allowed to be here? Leora hesitated. No, Daniel blinked. So why come? Leora stepped closer and sat on the glowing floor. Because you look scared, the alien said simply. Daniel let out a weak laugh. Well, they think I'm dangerous. They think humans can break your minds. That's terrifying. Leora studied him for a long moment. Do you know why our people fear you? He asked. Daniel sighed. Because we feel too much. Leora shook his head. No, because you feel alone. Daniel looked up sharply. Leora continued, voice soft and shaky. When the memory prism opened your mind, your loneliness was so loud it felt like lightning. It hurt, it scared the council, not because it was violent, but because they realized something. He looked Daniel in the eyes. You humans survive loneliness, you survive fear, you survive pain. Those things destroy other species. Daniel didn't know what to say. Leora kept going. Velarin minds are connected. We share thoughts every day. No one is ever alone. No one carries pain by themselves. He touched his chest gently. If even one of us feels fear, the whole network feels it. Daniel stared. That explained a lot. If that's true, Daniel said slowly, then me being separate, being disconnected, that must look shocking to you. Leora nodded. Your mind stands alone, but it also stands strong. He hesitated. Vecker said something before he collapsed. Daniel leaned forward. What? Tell me. Leora whispered. He saw a human mind standing in darkness, holding its own light. Daniel felt something twist inside his chest. Maybe he imagined that, he said quietly. No, Leora replied. He said it was not imagination, it was truth. The secret of the telepaths. Leora moved to the wall and touched a glowing panel. A hologram appeared, showing a Velarin brain, a beautiful swirling pattern of lights. This is us, Leora explained. Our minds are like rivers connected to one ocean. He pressed another symbol. A human brain appeared next to it, a silent storm of colors, fast, chaotic, powerful. This is you, Leora whispered. A storm that never stops. Daniel stared at the image. I didn't choose this. I know, Leora said gently, but it is still true. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed a Velarin touching a human mind. The Velarin's glowing brain dimmed and shook violently as human emotions leaked into it. Fear, hope, anger, love, courage, sadness. Determination. Leora pointed at the image. Your species evolved differently. You survived by heart, not by telepathy. Your brains learned to fight, to push back, to defend themselves against emotion instead of sharing it. He took a breath, and that is why humans cannot be controlled. Daniel slowly sat down on the floor beside him. So your people, they fear I could destroy them? Leora shook his head. No, they fear that humans are free. The council's debate at that exact moment in another chamber. The Velarin council gathered in a tight, glowing circle. Each member's thoughts were linked. Their voices echoed telepathically around the hall. He must be studied. No, kept away from our people. Humans are unpredictable. They feel too much. They resist every form of control. It is not natural. It is dangerous. It is inspiring. That last voice came from Vecker, who was standing with a cane. Breathing slowly, inspiring, the gold vein leader questioned. Explain. Vecker stared at the glowing floor. When I touched his mind, it broke me, yes, but it also showed me a truth. Humans carry pain alone, yet they stand, they live, they fight loneliness with hope. No species does this, not even us. Rithvak stepped forward. Hope is powerful, he said softly. More powerful than fear. The gold vein leader's eyes narrowed. Hope can start wars. Yes. Rithvak agreed, but it can also end them. Another council member spoke. If humans cannot be controlled, they can also not be enslaved. Nor manipulated, nor influenced through telepathy, nor erased, nor conquered. The silence grew heavy. Finally the leader spoke. That makes them more dangerous than any army. Vecker's voice was almost a whisper, or more valuable than any ally. A dangerous decision. Back in the small room, Leora stood suddenly. You must leave this place soon. Daniel froze. What are you talking about? The council said they wanted to study me. They want to, Leora said, but not all council members agree on what should happen next. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Some want to lock me up. Leora nodded. Yes, and some want to break your mind to understand why it is so strong. Daniel stepped back, horrified. No, they wouldn't. They might. Leora's voice shook. If they believe you are a danger to us. Daniel felt cold fear spread across his skin. What about Vecker? He asked. He supports me. Vecker is respected, Leora agreed, but he is weak now and others are louder. Daniel clenched his fists. So what are you saying? Run away, escape an entire alien species? Leora looked at the door nervously. I'm saying be ready. Human truth revealed. Leora pressed his palm to Daniel's forehead suddenly. Daniel flinched but didn't move away. What are you doing? He whispered. I cannot read your mind, Leora said calmly, but I can show you something. The room darkened. A soft vision filled the air created by Leora's telepathic projection. It showed thousands of Velaran brains connected by bright flowing lines. Then the image shifted. A human brain appeared, alone, glowing fiercely, unaffected, uncontrolled, unbroken, no strings, no connection, just fire. Leora's voice trembled as he spoke. This is the truth about your species, Daniel Cross. Humans do not survive because they are the strongest. The human brain in the vision blazed brighter. They survive because nothing controls them. Fear does not control them. Pain does not control them. Even loneliness does not control them. Fire erupted around the human brain like a sun. Humans shaped themselves. Daniel felt tears in his eyes without understanding why. Velaran minds are rivers, Leora whispered. Human minds are oceans. The vision faded. Daniel sat silently shaken. Leora turned toward the door. More council members are coming. I cannot be here when they arrive. Wait, Daniel said, standing. Why are you helping me? Leora looked back with a sad smile. Because you remind me of what we lost long ago. What did you lose? A fire inside the mind, Leora whispered. A fire we forgot how to carry. With that, he stepped through the door and disappeared down the glowing corridor. Daniel stood alone again. But now he felt something strange inside him. Not fear, not confusion, something else. A spark, a light, a truth he never knew about himself, about humans. Humans are unbreakable not because of power, but because of heart. The Velaran Council met again only hours later. But this time the halls were filled with tension so heavy it felt like the air had weight. Daniel didn't know what was said inside the council chamber, only that guards outside whispered nervously and the glowing walls pulsed with the colors of stress. Inside, however, the discussion had turned into something much darker. The council divides. The gold vein leader slammed her staff against the floor, sending a ring of light through the chamber. We cannot delay this decision. The human must be contained. A ripple of approval flowed through some of the council, their thoughts linked instantly. He is unstable, he carries storms inside his mind, he will break more telepaths, he must be isolated before the galaxy learns of this. But others disagreed just as fiercely. Rithvak stepped forward. Containment will only provoke him. You saw how he reacted when Vecker touched his mind. He is not hostile. He is powerful, another argued, which is the same as dangerous. Vecker, leaning on his cane, forced his trembling voice to rise. If you speak of danger, speak of your own fear, not his nature. The boy is no threat. The gold vein leader shot him a sharp look. You collapse for hours after touching him. Vecker raised his chin. Yes, but I also healed. A murmur moved through the chamber, uncertain. Vecker continued. I saw something in the human that none of you understand. A fire not of destruction but of survival. He does not destroy minds, he defends himself. If we attack him, we will be the ones to fall. Another counselor hissed. Are you suggesting we bow to a primitive species? Rithvak shook his head. No, I am suggesting we respect a species that cannot be dominated. The gold vein leader's eyes narrowed, and such a species is dangerous. The panic spreads. Word of the council meeting spread fast through the Velaran city station. Daniel noticed strange changes. Guards now stood farther away from him, not closer. Servants refused to look at him. Hallways grew quieter when he walked past. Doors opened only halfway when he approached. He felt like a shadow that frightened everyone. Daniel returned to his room, heart heavy. He didn't want this. He didn't ask for this. He wasn't a threat. He wasn't powerful. He was just human. And somehow that made him the most unpredictable force these aliens had ever encountered. A new voice in the dark as he paced the room. Trying to calm himself, the lights flickered. Daniel froze. Then a whisper echoed from the corner. "You must listen carefully, Daniel Cross." Daniel turned sharply. A figure materialized from the darkness, another Velarin but older than the others. His markings were silver and his eyes glowed with deep wisdom. Daniel took a cautious step back. "Who are you?" The alien bowed his head slightly. "I am Sarakai, first historian of the Velarin. I speak for knowledge, not for the council." Daniel swallowed. "Why are you here?" Sarakai looked at him with calm, ancient eyes. "To tell you a truth the council fears to say aloud." Daniel's heart thudded. "What truth?" Sarakai lifted his hand and the walls around them flickered, showing faint images, galaxies, planets, old battles, ancient races. "Long ago," he began softly, "there was another species like yours." Daniel's breath caught. "Like humans?" "Yes," Sarakai said. "A species whose minds were immune to our telepathy. They felt deeply, they resisted control, and they carried storms of emotion." "What happened to them?" Daniel whispered. Sarakai's face tightened. "They were hunted." Daniel stepped back in horror. "Hunted by you, not by us," Sarakai said quickly. "By others who feared what they could not understand. Their uniqueness made them targets." Daniel's fists clenched. "So now the Velarin think humans could be next." Sarakai nodded slowly. "Fear makes minds cruel, Daniel Cross, and your existence is awakening old nightmares." The dangerous vote back in the council chamber. The gold-veined leader raised her staff again. "We must vote," she declared. The chamber held its breath. Option 1, study the human deeply, explore his mind by force if needed. Many nodded. Option 2, confine the human to a protected area, no further contact. Some murmured approval. Option 3, release him and trust his nature. Almost no one nodded except Vekker and Rithvak. Vekker stepped forward. "Before you vote, hear one more truth." The chamber watched him carefully. Vekker took a shaky breath. "When I touched Daniel's mind, I did not only see his memories." The gold-veined leader frowned. "What else did you see?" Vekker looked around at the chamber. "I saw humanity." A wave of confusion passed through the council. "I saw millions of minds." Vekker whispered, "Not connected, not united, but fighting every day for life, for hope, for each other." He placed a hand on his heart. "The human mind is not a weapon, it is a survivor." The chamber fell into silence. For a moment, even the gold-veined leader looked unsure, but then her eyes hardened again. "Vekker, you were injured. Your judgment is clouded." "No," Vekker said firmly. "It is clearer than ever." But his words were drowned out by the rising panic of the council. Fear was spreading like flame. Sarakai's warning back in Daniel's room. Sarakai stepped closer. "You must be ready," he whispered. "Ready for what?" Daniel asked. Sarakai hesitated, then spoke the words Daniel feared most. "The council is close to choosing option 1. Daniel's stomach twisted. "That means," Sarakai looked at him with deep sadness, "they will force their way into your mind." Daniel took a step back, fear rising like cold fire. "No, they can't," they said. "Touching my mind hurts them." "They will use tools," Sarakai said softly. "Devices, machines built long ago for species even stronger than them." Daniel shook his head, panic flooding his chest. "That will kill me." "It might," Sarakai agreed. "It might also destroy the minds of the telepaths who try." Daniel felt his legs weaken. "So I'm a threat to them and they're a threat to me." Sarakai nodded. "Yes, and panic always leads to the worst decisions." He placed his glowing hand gently on Daniel's shoulder. "Remember this, Daniel Cross, your strength is not your mind, but your heart, your ability to hope in darkness. That is what frightened Vekker, not pain, but your light." Daniel swallowed hard. "What do I do?" Sarakai turned toward the door. "Be ready to choose your path, human, because very soon the council will choose theirs." And with that, the ancient historian vanished like a fading dream. The alarm moments later, a loud chime shook the station. Warning, an automated voice echoed through the halls. "All telepaths to the central chamber, emergency vote commencing." Daniel's blood ran cold. The council had decided. Whatever happened next would change everything. For the Velarin, for Daniel. The alarm kept echoing through the Velarin station, the deep hum shaking the floor beneath Daniel's feet. "Emergency vote commencing. All council members to the central chamber." Daniel's chest tightened. They were voting now on him, on his mind, his freedom, his fate. He stepped toward the door, but it locked automatically with a glowing seal. He was trapped. Daniel pressed his forehead to the cold surface and whispered, "Please don't do this," but no one answered. Inside the council chamber, meanwhile, the council chamber glowed with fierce energy. Each member stood inside a lit circle, connected by streams of white light. Their eyes shone like stars. The gold-veined leader raised her staff. "The time has come. We will decide the human's fate." Rithvak stepped forward quickly. "Wait, we must know," the leader snapped. "We delayed too long. The more we wait, the more danger grows." Vekker limped forward with his cane. "You fear him, but fear is not wisdom." Several counselors whispered telepathically. "Vekker is weakened. He sees hope where danger lies. He is blinded by emotion." Vecker struck the floor with his cane. I am not blinded, I am awake. Silence fell, then the gold-veined leader lifted her staff. Begin the vote. Daniel's fear back in his locked room. Daniel paced like a caged animal. His breath grew fast, his palms sweaty, his thoughts storming. They're going to break into my mind. They're going to hurt me. They're going to use machines. I can't fight that. I'm just one person. He sat against the wall, trembling. He wasn't brave. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't anything special. He was human, and for the first time that didn't feel like enough. Daniel closed his eyes. Images rushed through him, his mother's tired smile, his father's old toolbox, his younger self staring at the night sky, dreaming of worlds beyond Earth. I can't die here, he whispered. I can't let them fear my whole species because of me. His heartbeat thundered, then the lights suddenly flickered, the door clicked. Daniel jumped to his feet, a shadow stepped inside, the unexpected ally. It was Leora, breathing hard, carrying a glowing sphere. His green markings pulsed with urgency. Daniel, quick, you have to come now. Daniel blinked. What happened? The council begins their vote in minutes, Leora said, grabbing Daniel's wrist. And the result will not be in your favor. Daniel's throat tightened. They're going to force their way into my mind, aren't they? Leora didn't answer, which was answer enough. Daniel felt his knees weaken. Leora, if they do that, they could kill me. They could kill themselves as well, Leora whispered. But fear makes them blind. Daniel pulled his hand free. Why are you doing this? You could be punished. Leora hesitated, then placed a hand over his heart, because Vecker is right. You humans carry something we lost long ago, the courage to stand in darkness. Daniel felt a lump in his throat. Then help me escape. Leora nodded once. This way. The escape through the lower ring. The glowing corridors were nearly empty. Everyone had gone to the voting chamber. Leora led Daniel down a spiraling passageway toward the lower ring, a restricted level of the Velarin station. Where are we going? Daniel whispered. To the old transport docks. Leora said there should be a small ship you can use. Daniel's heart thumped. You're helping me steal a ship. Leora gave a small, nervous smile. I prefer to call it borrowing. They slipped past two guards, down another hallway, past a room filled with blue crystals vibrating with telepathic energy. Daniel shivered. What is that? Leora didn't slow his pace. A machine the council built centuries ago, he said. A device used to break the minds of enemies. Daniel nearly stopped walking. Break minds. Would they have used that on me? Yes, Leora said softly. If the vote passes. Daniel felt cold and angry. The memory stormed suddenly. The floor beneath them trembled. Lights burst across the ceiling. An alarm blared louder than before. Leora froze. This isn't possible. The memory prism is activating again. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? It means someone is pulling memories, yours, into the council hall. Daniel's heart dropped. No, if they force it. A wave of psychic energy slammed through the hallway. Daniel fell to his knees. Images exploded across his vision, his mother's face, the day she died, the night he cried alone in his room, the bullies from school, the long hours working to survive, the loneliness he thought he buried. Leora dropped beside him. Daniel, listen to me, you must control your emotions. Daniel gasped. I can't, this isn't me doing it. It's the council, Leora shouted. They opened the prism without your permission, it's pulling your memories. Daniel's breath grew ragged. Make it stop, please make it stop. I can't, Leora cried. Another wave struck. This time the memories shifted. Warm evenings, family dinners, laughing with friends, fixing old machines, hope fierce and bright. But instead of hurting, this time a strange strength flowed through Daniel's chest. Leora stared. You are stabilizing it. Daniel rose slowly. His hands trembled, but his eyes sharpened. I'm not stabilizing it, he said. I'm fighting it. How? Leora whispered. Daniel took a deep breath. Because humans fight everything, pain, fear, control, we don't break. The psychic wave hit again, but Daniel stayed standing. Leora's eyes widened. You're resisting the entire council's telepathic pull. Daniel wiped his face. I said it before, I'm just human, and humans don't give up. The waves weakened, then stopped. Leora grabbed Daniel's arm. We must hurry. The docks, they reached the lower ring. A huge metal door slid open, revealing a dim, silent dock bay filled with small transport pods. Some were old, some broken, some floating quietly like sleeping giants. Leora pointed at a small silver vessel. That one, it's fast and easy to control. Daniel nodded, but before he could move, a booming voice echoed through the bay. Do not take another step. Daniel turned, his heart froze. The gold-veined council leader stood at the entrance, flanked by half a dozen elite guards. Their eyes glowed like burning blue suns. Leora whispered. No, the leader stepped forward, her face cold. The vote is complete. Daniel swallowed. What did you decide? Her eyes hardened. You cannot leave. Daniel took a slow step back. And if I refuse, the leader lifted her staff. Then we will enter your mind by force. Leora shouted. No, if you do that. The leader raised her hand for silence. This human is too dangerous to roam free. Daniel clenched his jaw. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't strong, but he wasn't helpless. And he wasn't alone, not anymore. His voice was quiet but steady. You're scared of me because I'm human. The leader smirked. No, we fear what you represent. Daniel stepped forward, a single brave step. And what is that? The leader lowered her staff. Her voice was almost a whisper. A mind we cannot control. Daniel stood facing the gold-veined council leader with Leora trembling beside him. Guards in glowing armor blocked the exit. Blue energy hummed through their hands. Daniel could feel fear rising through his chest, but something else rose with it. A stubborn spark, a human spark, the same spark that had carried him through loneliness, through loss, through every pain he never talked about. The leader raised her staff, and her voice echoed across the metal walls. Daniel, Cross of Earth, you cannot leave this station. You are too dangerous. Daniel clenched his fists. I'm dangerous only because you're afraid. Fear keeps the galaxy safe, she replied sharply. Fear creates order. Daniel took a step toward her. No, fear creates cages. Leora looked up, shocked. The guards tensed, but Daniel kept walking, slow and steady, heart pounding in his ears. The mind strike, the council leader flicked her staff. A wave of telepathic pressure slammed into Daniel like a wall of cold wind. His vision blurred, his ears rang, his memories shook. Leora cried out, stop, you'll kill him. But Daniel stood firm. Another wave hit him, stronger, sharper, a psychic blade. He felt memories tear open, his mother's face, his father's laughter, childhood fears, teenage loneliness, every small wound carved deeper. Daniel sucked in a shaking breath. Tears burned in his eyes, but he didn't fall. The leader's eyes widened. How are you still standing? Daniel lifted his head because inside him something was burning, a fire, not anger, not hatred, will, human will, he whispered through clenched teeth, this is nothing new. The leader blinked. What? Daniel stepped forward again. I've lived my whole life fighting thoughts that tried to crush me, he said, voice trembling but strong. Fear, doubt, pain, loneliness. You think your attacks are worse. Humans fight our own minds every day. The telepathic push wavered. Daniel's eyes met hers, and we survive. The humans stormed. The council leader's face twisted in confusion, then anger. Continue the attack, she ordered. Her guards raised their hands. 6 beams of psychic force shot toward Daniel. Leora screamed. No, Daniel shut his eyes, and something extraordinary happened. The force didn't break him. It bent around him like wind bending around a mountain. It crackled through the air but didn't enter him, didn't touch his mind at all, because Daniel's mind wasn't open. It was shielded by everything he had ever survived. Pain became armor, hope became fire, loneliness became steel. The guard staggered backward. What is this? I can't enter him. His mind is closed. It's pushing us out. Daniel opened his eyes, glowing with determination. I told you. Said quietly, human minds don't break, they grow stronger. The council leader trembled. This is impossible. No mind is immune to full telepathic force. Daniel took another step. The entire dock shivered. Maybe no Velaran mind is, he said, but a human mind is built to survive storms. The psychic beams cracked, fizzled, then shattered like glass. The turning point guards stumbled back in shock. Some fell to their knees from the mental recoil. Leora stared at Daniel with wide, glowing eyes. You just resisted a full council strike. Daniel turned to him, breathing hard. I don't want to hurt anyone. Leora nodded. You didn't, you only resisted. That alone is a miracle. Behind them, the gold-veined leader stepped back, shaken for the first time. What are you? Daniel looked straight at her. I'm human. The words hit like thunder. Vecker arrived suddenly. The dock doors blasted open. A surge of psychic energy flooded the room, but it wasn't sharp. It was warm, soft, balanced. Vecker entered leaning on his cane, sweating but alive. His voice boomed with unexpected power. Enough. Every guard collapsed to their knees under the weight of his command. Only Daniel and the council leader remained standing, one through will, the other through telepathy. Vecker stared her down. You have lost your path, he said. Fear has blinded you, the leader hissed. I protect our people. No, Vecker replied softly. You enslave them with fear. She glared. He is a threat. Vecker pointed at Daniel. He resisted your attack without hurting you. A weapon destroys, a monster devours, but he simply stood. Silence swept the dock. Vecker stepped closer, his voice trembling. This is humanity, a mind of pain but also courage, a heart crushed but still beating, a soul wounded but never defeated. Daniel felt something rise in his throat, emotion so strong it almost broke him. Vecker lifted his head. Your telepathy cannot control humans because humans are controlled by their own fire. The entire dock glowed brighter as Vecker spoke his final truth, and fire cannot be enslaved. Light over fear, the council leader lowered her staff. Fear crumbled from her expression. What do you want, Vecker? Vecker smiled gently. Not war, not control, only peace. He placed a weak hand on Daniel's shoulder. This human came with open hands. He showed us pain, yes, but also hope. He turned to the stunned guards, and hope is not a threat. The final choice. Silence fell. The gold-veined leader took a slow step forward, breathing shakily. Daniel Cross, if we let you leave, will you carry hatred for our fear? Will your species seek revenge? Daniel swallowed. He thought of Earth, his mother, his childhood. Humans struggling but trying every single day. No, he said softly, humans don't want to control you. We don't want to conquer anyone. We just want a chance to be understood. The leader closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the fear was gone. Only acceptance remained. You will leave safely, she said quietly. You have earned our respect and our caution. Daniel nodded. Thank you. The leader bowed her head slightly. Humanity, your minds are storms. Your hearts are suns. We will remember this. The departure. Daniel boarded the small transport ship with Leora and Vecker beside him. Leora smiled softly. You changed us today. Daniel shook his head. No, I only showed you what every human carries. Vecker added, and that is exactly why the galaxy will never forget humanity. Daniel sat in the pilot seat, hands trembling slightly, heart full. He wasn't a hero, not a soldier, not a chosen one. He was just human, and somehow that was enough to shake an entire telepathic species. As the ship drifted away from the Velarin station, Daniel whispered, "Humans are stronger than anyone knew." The stars glowed quietly in answer, and maybe for all of humanity.